How does a good person commit an unspeakable act and still sleep like a baby at night? You probably believe your moral compass is unbreakable. Psychology says otherwise. What follows is a breakdown of the cognitive bridges that let you walk past your own conscience, the ones that convert cruelty into perceived necessity without you noticing it's happening. Society runs on the myth of the monster. It is a necessary fiction. We comfort ourselves with the belief that real evil is the exclusive property of psychopaths, sociopaths, or people with some fundamental defect baked into their neurology. We tell ourselves that darkness is an anomaly, a glitch in the human operating system, something that only touches a tiny, deranged fraction of the population. This is a false diagnosis, a fairy tale designed to protect the collective ego. Actual psychopathy is statistically rare. It cannot come close to accounting for the volume of everyday cruelty, corporate exploitation, systemic abuse, and historical atrocity that fills the human record. The uncomfortable fact is that most suffering is not inflicted by monsters. It is inflicted by ordinary, rational, well-adjusted people who believe genuinely and sincerely that they are doing the right thing. You have an internal moral thermostat. It is a biological and social mechanism built to regulate your behavior. When you violate your own ethical rules, the thermostat activates. It floods your system with cortisol. It produces guilt, shame, and real physiological distress. That is your conscience doing exactly what it was designed to do. But the human mind is an engine of efficiency and self-preservation above all else. When it wants an outcome that breaks your own rules, it does not rewrite your values. It does not decide, consciously or otherwise, to become evil. It builds a detour around the guilt. It constructs a cognitive shortcut that temporarily disconnects the thermostat. This architecture is called moral disengagement, and it is the most dangerous mechanism in the human brain. The first bridge is linguistic. You cannot commit a sinister act if your brain refuses to call it sinister. So the brain sanitizes it through language. This is euphemistic labeling, and it works because words carry neurological weight. They carry emotional charge. Change the word and you neutralize the charge. Military systems are the engineers of this technique. Soldiers do not kill human beings with families. They neutralize hostile targets. They do not bomb neighborhoods. They conduct kinetic operations that produce collateral damage. But this is not confined to war. Corporations do not destroy livelihoods or drive families into poverty. They optimize overhead and engage in strategic downsizing. When the language is clinical and sanitized, the emotional reality of the act disappears. The suffering gets buried under corporate or bureaucratic vocabulary. You feel no guilt because, in your own accounting, no crime was committed. Procedure was executed. But words are not always sufficient to quiet the thermostat. Some acts are too obvious to hide behind a phrase. When that happens, you reach for the second bridge, advantageous comparison. You justify a serious ethical violation by stacking it against something worse. You construct a false dichotomy where your behavior is framed as the lesser evil. You tell yourself that extracting resources, exploiting a loophole, or cutting a rival down is acceptable because at least you are not hurting anyone physically. You convince yourself that emotionally manipulating a partner is justified because other people hit. The act itself has not changed. The damage has not changed. But the bridge lets you cross without setting off your own alarm. You become a saint in the shadow of a hypothetical monster. You weaponize the existence of worse crimes to grant yourself full amnesty for your own. Once the language is sanitized and the comparison is drawn, the brain moves to the next stage. Obscuring agency. The conscience requires a clear sense of personal responsibility to function. Guilt is heavy, and the mind will do almost anything to put it down. If you can convince yourself that you are not the primary agent of an action, the guilt dissolves. You do this through displacement of responsibility. You push the blame upward. Consider the middle manager who rolls out a devastating, unethical policy that harms thousands of people. When they go home and look in the mirror, they do not see a villain. They see a dedicated employee. They were following protocol, executing orders from the board. Their cruelty becomes an act of professional duty. They trade their moral autonomy for the comfort of compliance. The moment you believe you are just an instrument of a higher authority, You stop evaluating whether your actions are ethical. You only evaluate how well you are doing your assigned task. The authority figure absorbs the guilt. The instrument comes out clean. What happens when there is no authority figure to absorb it? When blame cannot be pushed upward, it gets spread outward. This is diffusion of responsibility, and it is the exact reason crowds can do things that individuals would not attempt alone. When a group commits an unethical act, the cognitive weight is divided among its members. If you are one of 50 people inside a harmful system, you experience approximately 2% of the guilt. When everyone is slightly responsible, no one is entirely responsible. You become an anonymous gear inside a large machine. You tell yourself that if you do not do it, someone else will. That your individual contribution is too small to register. Diffusion of responsibility creates a kind of psychological invisibility. It lets perfectly decent people participate in mob behavior, systemic corruption, and collective indifference without feeling a single pang of personal remorse. Even with sanitized language, convenient comparisons, and dispersed blame, human empathy can still interrupt the process. It is a powerful biological tether. Mirror neurons in the brain force you to register the pain of others. To complete the moral bypass, that tether has to be cut. The target has to be stripped of their humanity. This is dehumanization, and it is the most catastrophic of the cognitive bridges. It is genuinely hard to inflict pain on someone you recognize as complex, feeling, and real. So the mind reduces the target to a demographic, a statistic, a label, a disease, an obstacle. It assigns them animalistic qualities or converts them into a data point. Empathy is a biological response calibrated for your own kind. When your brain successfully files a target as subhuman or abstract, empathy is biologically shut off. The mirror neurons go quiet. You no longer see a person. You see a problem that needs to be resolved. Every major atrocity in human history was preceded by a systematic campaign of dehumanization. It is the precondition for engineered suffering. If dehumanization fails, if you are forced to look at the humanity of your target, the system defaults to its last defense. Attribution of blame. If you cannot deny what you are doing, you convince yourself the victim brought it on themselves. You rewrite the story of the interaction so that your aggression reads as a defensive response. You tell yourself they provoked you, that they earned it through their prior behavior, that they should have known better. By blaming the victim, you pull off a precise psychological inversion. You become the wronged party, and the actual victim becomes the aggressor who forced your hand. You are not inflicting cruelty anymore. You are delivering justice. This is how abusers sleep at night. They are not, in their own mind, punishing an innocent person. They are reacting to a world that treated them unfairly first. Now look inward. While you've been reading this, your ego has been working to protect you. You are probably assuming that these mechanisms belong to dictators, war criminals, and corporate sociopaths. You are building a wall between yourself and the information. Take it down. These mechanisms are running inside your nervous system right now. They are the background infrastructure of your daily life. Run the internal audit. You systematically damage a colleague's reputation to advance your own position. You do not call it sabotage. You call it protecting the team's efficiency. Euphemistic labeling applied to raw ambition. When you betray a partner or lash out at someone close to you, you carefully reconstruct the sequence of events until their emotional unavailability or their tone of voice is responsible. You become the victim they created. When you look past the suffering of people below your economic standing, you have already dehumanized them. You have reduced them to a byproduct of their own poor choices, dispersing your personal responsibility to respond. You are sanitizing your behavior every day, however quietly, to preserve the story of your own decency. You are a functioning moral agent only when it costs you nothing. The real discovery here is that your conscience is not a barrier to cruelty. It is an administrative hurdle. It is a locked door, and your brain has spent your entire life picking it. It has learned which paperwork to forge, which language to use, which comparisons to invoke, all to get past your own ethics when a desired outcome requires it. There is no fix for this. No patch, no update, no rewiring. The bridges are built directly into the structure of your nervous system. You will finish this and you will go back to your life. And the next time you need a cruel, selfish, or unethical action to get what you want, you will not see yourself as a monster. You will adjust the language. You will spread the blame. You will rewrite the victim's role. And you will cross the bridge as smoothly as you always have. Your morality is a story you tell yourself so you can sleep. Continue the audit with our briefing on the illusion of free choice.